Australia is a country of cities that punch well above their weight on the world stage. From topping global livability rankings to flooding Instagram with dreamy drone shots of beaches and lattes, we're constantly told our urban centers offer the ultimate lifestyle. Sunshine, surf, safety, and a future so solid you could build a Bunnings on it. But here's the thing. What happens when that glossy promise doesn't quite match the reality? When the paradise has a 2-hour commute, skyrocketing rent, and one cafe charging 22 bucks for smashed avo on toast. This isn't a list of Australia's worst cities. It's a countdown of the most overrated. The places with reputations bigger than their public transport networks. Cities that are hyped in headlines and real estate ads, but leave plenty of locals asking, wait, is this it? So grab your almond flat white, and let's count down the most overrated cities in Australia. Number 8. Adelaide. For years, Adelaide proudly wore the underrated gem badge like a hipster with a vinyl collection, quietly smug and unbothered by Sydney's flash or Melbourne's swagger. With clean streets, world-class wine regions on its doorstep, a foodie scene that punched above its weight, and housing that didn't require a lottery win, it was Australia's best-kept secret. But here's the thing about secrets. Eventually, people talk. As the underrated chatter grew louder, so did the expectations. And now, Adelaide's cool, calm reputation is starting to feel a little overstated. Sure, it's still more affordable than Sydney and less chaotic than Melbourne, but it's also, let's be honest, a bit slow. Job opportunities, especially in tech, media, and creative sectors, are limited. Unless you're in government, health, or education, climbing the career ladder can feel more like clinging to a step stool. And that housing affordability? Slipping fast. The median house price has shot past $750,000, with wage growth limping far behind. For first home buyers, the dream is getting foggier by the year. Adelaide is no longer the hidden gem. It's been discovered, polished, and put on display. And maybe, just maybe, it's lost a little of its sparkle. Number 7. Hobart. Not long ago, Hobart was Australia's lovable underdog, quirky, quiet, and completely off the radar. It was the kind of place where you could buy a house for less than the price of a parking space in Sydney, grab world-class seafood by the docks, and still bump into someone in a beanie selling handmade candles and conspiracy theories at the Salamanca market. But then came the flood, not of water, but of influencers, remote workers, tree changers, and property investors. And just like that, Hobart's charming anonymity vanished. Over the past decade, the city has transformed from Australia's cheapest capital to one of its least affordable. The median house price is now over $800,000, while wages in Tasmania remain among the lowest in the country. That's not a lifestyle upgrade. It's a financial trapdoor. Tourism boomed, but at a cost. Entire suburbs are now Airbnb hubs, making it nearly impossible for full-time workers, nurses, teachers, baristas, to find a place to live. And the once offbeat, artistic vibe? It's being replaced by wine bars, $12 toast, and pastel decor. Hobart is still stunning, but it's no longer a hidden gem. It's a postcard-perfect city caught in a housing crisis it never saw coming. Number 6. Canberra. Canberra is clean, green, safe, and wealthy. On paper, it ticks all the boxes. Wide boulevards, pristine parks, low crime, and the highest median household income in Australia. Sounds perfect, right? But here's the thing. Cities aren't lived on paper. And for many, Canberra feels less like a capital and more like a very tidy simulation. Yes, it's functional. Yes, it's well organized. But unless you work in government, defense, or policy, the career landscape can feel limited. It's one of the most economically concentrated cities in the country. If you're not pushing policy or sitting in a government meeting room, you might find yourself wondering what you're doing there, aside from freezing through a brisk 8-month winter. Culturally, Canberra has tried to shed its dull image. There are cool cafes, decent galleries, and the occasional festival, but compared to Sydney or Melbourne, the nightlife is still sleepy, and the spontaneity just isn't there. It's a city where everything works, but not much surprises you. For families and policy wonks, Canberra makes sense. It's safe, stable, and sensible. But for creatives, entrepreneurs, or anyone seeking energy and edge, it can feel like you've moved into a very expensive filing cabinet with a lake. Number 5. Perth. Perth is often described as Australia's most remote capital city, and that's not just geography talking. On the surface, it's got a lot going for it. endless sunshine, white sand beaches, and a laid-back vibe that makes you wonder why anyone would leave. But once you scratch beneath that sun-kissed surface, a few realities start to emerge. First, Perth is really far from everything. Not just from the eastern states, but from global markets too. That isolation impacts more than just flight times. It shapes the city's economy, job market, and even its culture. While mining has made the city rich, it's also made it boom and bust dependent. When the resources sector dips, Perth tends to dip with it. Housing, not as cheap as you'd think. The median house price is pushing $900,000 and rental availability is tight. And while lifestyle is great if you're outdoorsy, many residents say the city can feel culturally limited, especially when compared to Melbourne or Sydney. For short stays, Perth is a stunner. But for long-term living, the remoteness, rising costs, and economic swings make it feel more isolating than idyllic. Perth is gorgeous, but sometimes it feels like a beautiful island disconnected from the rest of Australia. Number 4. Gold Coast. From a distance, the Gold Coast looks like someone photoshopped paradise. Towering skyscrapers lining the beach, perfect weather, endless surf, and enough theme parks to keep your kids in sugar-induced chaos for a week. It's sold as the Aussie dream, beach by day, cocktails by night, and no worries in between. But once you move there, the cracks start to show, along with the traffic jams. The Gold Coast is one of Queensland's fastest-growing urban zones, now home to over 700,000 people. But infrastructure hasn't exactly kept pace. Roads are choked, public hospitals are under serious strain, and some schools are so full they have resorted to portable classrooms and waiting lists. Real estate? Prepare to gasp. In suburbs like Mermaid Waters and Burleigh Heads, median house prices have soared past $1.3 million. Meanwhile, rental vacancy rates have dipped below 1%, turning house hunting into a competitive sport with no winners, except the landlords. Culturally, the Gold Coast can't quite decide what it wants to be. Is it a party hub, a family enclave, a retiree escape, a corporate magnet? It's trying to wear too many hats and occasionally drops all of them. The Gold Coast shines bright, but for many the glitter fades fast. Number 3. Byron Bay. Byron Bay was once the barefoot heart of Australia's east coast, a mellow haven where surfers, artists, backpackers, and spiritual wanderers shared beaches, bonfires, and bongos without a care in the world. It had soul, it had space, it had affordable rent. Then came the celebrities, then the influencers, then the investors from Sydney, flying in on a mission to connect with nature and buy their third beachfront property. And just like that, Byron Bay morphed from coastal charm to curated brand. Today, median house prices hover around $2 million and rising. Essential workers, teachers, nurses are forced to live in surrounding towns and commute up to an hour just to keep the local economy running. It's the postcard version of gentrification. What's left is a town that feels more like a boutique lifestyle magazine than a real place. Think $20 smoothies, chakra-aligning crystal shops, and yoga studios with mission statements longer than their classes. The old Byron? Fading fast. Infrastructure hasn't kept up. Roads are gridlocked, parking is war, and local services are stretched thin. Byron Bay didn't just sell out. It was aggressively bought out. And now, it's living proof that paradise comes with a price tag. Number 2. Melbourne. Melbourne has long marketed itself as Australia's cultural crown jewel. Art-filled laneways, legendary coffee, a festival for every niche interest, footy fever, and restaurants that turn eating into an art form. It's the kind of city that makes you feel cool just walking through it. But in 2025, the shine is wearing a little thin. The city has added over 1.5 million people in the past decade, making it one of the fastest-growing cities in the developed world. But infrastructure hasn't exactly caught the same train. Roads are gridlocked. Train carriages resemble sardine tins at peak hour, and the suburban sprawl now reaches places that technically may not even be Melbourne anymore. Then there's the weather. That cute 4 seasons in one day line? Less charming when it means leaving the house in sunscreen and coming home in a parka, soaked to the bone. Winters are long, damp, and honestly kind of depressing. And affordability? Forget it. The median house price now exceeds $1 million, and even on the fringes, homes start at $800,000. That's a big bill for a small backyard and a long commute. Melbourne still has flair, but for many, it feels like a city that's outgrown itself and its reputation. Number 1. Sydney. At number 1, we have Sydney, the poster child of Australian ambition, and arguably its most overrated city. Let's start with the obvious. Cost of living. Sydney consistently ranks as one of the most expensive cities in the world. The median house price is now around $1.4 million, and rents for modest two-bedroom apartments can soar above $700 a week. And that's not in a luxury tower, just a regular unit in the inner west. Salaries haven't kept up. Many young people now resign themselves to renting indefinitely, or moving hours away from the city just to afford space. Essential workers, teachers, paramedics, hospitality staff are increasingly priced out of the neighborhoods they serve. Then there's the commute. Sydney's roads are congested, public transport is patchy, and travel times are some of the longest in the country. A 1-hour commute each way is often considered normal. Yes, Sydney is stunning. The harbor, the beaches, the skyline, they're world-class. But beneath the glitter lies a city increasingly hollowed out by inequality. The soul of Sydney, the mix of cultures, creatives, and communities that once gave it life, is being pushed out by high prices, foreign investment, and a relentless pursuit of profit over people. Sydney looks like a dream, but for many, living there feels more like surviving a nightmare. So there you have it, 8 cities, each with their own brand, their own promise, their own Instagram filter. But the common thread? A disconnect between image and reality. We're not saying these cities are unlivable. Far from it. Each one has something to offer, whether it's beaches, culture, jobs, or lifestyle perks. But what we are saying is this: they're oversold. And when cities are sold like products, marketed, packaged, and polished, we risk chasing the image instead of the reality. Because behind the glossy real estate ads and Instagram sunsets, daily life still means traffic jams, housing stress, rising costs, and stretched infrastructure. We end up with cities that look incredible on a postcard, but feel exhausting to actually live in. The real Australia? It's not just in skylines or property values, it's in the sense of connection. In community barbecues, local footy clubs, walkable streets, and knowing your neighbor's name. Increasingly, that's found not in the mega cities, but in the regional towns, the underrated postcodes, and the quiet places that aren't trying to be anything they're not. So if you're dreaming of a better life in Australia, don't just follow the hype. Sometimes the most livable places are the ones nobody's tagging on Instagram. Thanks for watching. And remember, sometimes smaller really is better.